Yeah.
Thank you for
Yeah.
coming.
So then you
My
can
name is
just go out
Lisa
with-
Talavera. I'm with the Patagonia Regional Times newspaper, and we wanted to host this community Q&A to help talk about the forgivable loans that are available to small businesses, nonprofits, artists, musicians in our community. And we wanted to have folks from the county and from the program here with us to help talk about it, how we can apply, how you can, hi guys, come on in. How you can qualify for the funds, how to get the funds, and kind of demystify the program. We'll have these folks talk about the program, and then we'll open it up to a Q&A afterward. We're passing out a clipboard. If you could just put your information, contact information, we'll follow up with email information about the program afterward. We'll try to make the questions short and sweet, but informative answers would be most helpful. Hi. And then if anybody has any questions afterward that they would like to ask, you guys will hang around for a few minutes afterwards.
Oh, definitely.
We'll try to do a hard stop no later than 7:30. That's when we have it programmed till, and we'll make sure we have contact info, okay? This is Angie Donaldson from the county. She's contracted with the county and helping to facilitate the program. Mark and Alex from Chicanos por la Causa, who are helping to facilitate the program, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you guys want to go ahead and talk about, the A to Z's, that would be great, and then we'll do questions.
Thank you,
Okay?
Lisa.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Awesome.
Great. Well, I'm going to spend a couple minutes just framing the program. Excuse me. As Nisa said, my name's Angie Donaldson, and the county's asked me to help frame the program in terms of wanting to get their small business supports out to the community. There's actually two parts of the program. The county supervisors voted to put $1.5 million out to the community. 500,000 of that has already gone out to 16 nonprofits. Several of you are here in Patagonia and recipients of those awards. And the program we're going to be talking about today is $1 million specifically for a forgivable loan program that Chicanos por la Causa is going to be talking about. So you can thank your supervisors for that, because a lot of rural counties in Arizona have chosen not to do that with their federal coronavirus relief money. They get an allocation and they can pick how they want to spend that. They can spend it on infrastructure. I think they're spending some on broadband, but I'm not the expert on that. But they are spending it, trying to get it out to the community as well. So just want to frame that. And it's within the context of some larger supports that the county's trying to put out for small businesses. They did a little research and a survey and a report during the pandemic to find out how could they help businesses during the pandemic. And I'll talk first about, there's two flyers here at the front of the table. One is about probably what you're most here for, which is the Forgivable Loan Program. And they'll spend most of the time talking about that. But this is an app, the one that I'm going to talk about first. This was a small grant the county got from the U.S. Department of Agriculture and Rural Development to put together how could we help feature small businesses down the I-19 corridor throughout all of Santa Cruz County, including Patagonia. And so it's an app. You can download it on your phone. It's free at the App Store. And there's a QR code you can scan here, so you don't even have to download it to find out what it's about. But it features independent small businesses. So it's for people to find out, where are my independent small businesses in the community? Because it's really hard to get that information. If you Google things, you really don't know who the owner is, or if it's local, or if it's independent. So that was the goal of this program. There's about 200 businesses that are so far featured on the app, but if you have a small business, it's a storefront, and you'd like to be featured as well, you can do that for free, and they'll create a simple profile for you. There's a picture, and it will lead people who are looking to shop with independent businesses here in Patagonia to independent businesses. The contractor who's doing this is named Localite. They're a public benefit corporation, and they'll be sending some signs that kind of stand up on businesses so people can find out more about it. So it's highlighted and featured to people. One thing they're going to be doing in the next 2 weeks is putting out $50 to 200 different businesses that are featured on the app. So if you want to be featured on the app, you might be the winner of $50 that they'll just basically incentivize to spend at your local business, because they want to try to get the app moving. And so the idea is, once people start spending money, they'll see how it can recirculate in the local economy as well. So that's a benefit to you. They're also a bank. They're a fintech company. So if you do want to use it as a payment method, you can, but there's no obligation to do that. And they'll explain that to you if you have questions. So that's something that's featured. The same grant from Rural Development also funded a program through the Superintendent of Schools office. And that's to bring interns throughout the county to support small businesses. So the Superintendent of Schools has put out, I think there's 45 interns in this pilot phase that we've had. And those interns are working with 15 businesses. They're doing a showcase highlight of their work June 22nd. But the Superintendent of Schools would like to roll that program out further for any businesses that are interested. And maybe you want an intern for website development. Maybe you want them to help you with the business issue that you have. So it's pretty flexible. And they've trained these interns really well. So they're short, doable projects that aren't intended to snow you as a business and take a lot of your time. So they do prepare the student ahead of time and send them out in teams to help. So those are two other supports the county is trying to roll out for businesses to really help independent small businesses recover from the effects of the pandemic. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to CPLC, and you guys can talk about the Forgivable Loan Program.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you for having us. This is a pretty cool little venue here. I was driving up from Tucson, and I'm like, man, I'm going to make it. It's been such a while being out here, too. I remember coming out here when I was younger, and I'm like, man, this is such a beautiful drive. Mm-hmm. I love it, yeah. You know, so it was pretty awesome, and the clouds were moving in. But thanks again for having us. And as I walked through the door, and I'm like, man, this is a cool crowd, too. This is a lot of people here. So thank you guys for taking the time to come out and listening to us and hearing about this program. Thank you, Angie, for that piece as well. But as Angie had mentioned too, we're collaborating with the Santa Cruz County, and we're bringing on board the Santa Cruz County, Arizona Forgivable Loan Program. And I'm going to talk a little bit, you know, off a fact sheet here and kind of give you the ins and outs of what the program is all about and how we want all of you to participate and apply for that program. This is such a neat program, and as Angie mentioned, so I'm here with my colleague Alex, but we're from Chicanos por la Causa, and Préstamos CDFI, we're a division of CPLC, and we work solely with small business lending. And in that piece, you know, we're just outreach into the small business community, and this is kind of how we came to this collaboration under this program. But what's a forgivable loan, for one, right? A loan to entrepreneurs, employers, artists, 501c3 nonprofit organizations as well. But this is a loan that can be forgiven with certain conditions being met to apply for that forgiveness, right? And we'll talk a little bit more about that in on the Q&A and on what that exactly means. But how a loan will be forgiven, right? So once we award a grant under this program, once we award the loan, there's going to be specific guidelines around that loan, okay? And one of those guidelines to meet the forgiveness part of it is whatever amount you are approved for, 10% of that amount has to be given back to your community. So we're gonna determine and talk a little bit more of what those requirements are, and those requirements and how they're met within a 12-month window once a loan is funded, or once the grant is funded, right, on the application. Who can apply for the loan? Employers in Santa Cruz County. So it's very specific. As Angie mentioned, the Santa Cruz County implemented this program with their funds, but it has to be within the Santa Cruz County region to be able to apply for one. And this includes, all small businesses, okay? Retail services, people in tourism and travel, coming down, I saw the wine country sign, out there, and I know, some of the growth, within that industry, and some of the tourism around that piece. But that's a awesome example of also hospitality industries. A focus, and for some of you that fit within this category, but walking into this theater, artists and creators. So keep in mind that that's also another focus around this program as well. And again, I mentioned the 501c3 nonprofits. So if this particular venue right here, if we're looking at a nonprofit, then we're looking at, here a qualification. And then, and when recipients have to be 18 years of age or older as well under the program. Under this program, the amount for the application and that can be approved, so it's up to $25,000. Okay, so that's the amount we're looking at as far as for the awarded. Okay, and this is, again, we're looking at documentation within that, and to determine the qualifications up to that amount as well. And for the artist community, we're actually looking at up to $2,500. Okay. How do you apply? It's a very simple process. We have these. We have these forms up here, and on the forms itself, it's going to direct you to our site to be able to go online and do a simple step process as far as entering your information online and getting that information. It's going to automatically get fed into our system, and once it's in the system, we're going to, you're going to have a follow-up email and communication in that system. Once you get that system as well, into that system, we're going to provide all the ins and out on documentation, what documentation we're going to need from you, and specific items around a checklist, and kind of determining, again, the qualification for each and every business. So in a nutshell, that's just kind of going down through that process and really kind of simplifying it as best as we can, right? Okay. And so once we're into that phase, we're going to talk about, and I want to kind of mention what makes a strong application. Okay, for one. For me, and we talked a little bit about this yesterday, the strongest applications are those applications with good documentation. We'll have a list of items that we need from each and every business, but I want to focus on more of the storyline behind that business as well, and how we qualify the businesses for the monies requested around that. So really kind of also, focusing on that piece of it. What is the story, and how do we look at your individual scenario? We deal with so many businesses, and I deal with so many businesses, not each and one is the same. And that's the one thing that come to the process when we're looking at reviewing to approve. Each and every application is going to be different. So we really want to see a good story behind, that application process, and where we see the strength to that. And the other thing too, timeliness in that process. So going through that, we're going to be requesting documentation. And for us in this system that we're going to be looking at, I'm going to be charged with ensuring that we have all the documentation necessary to proceed with that application. And the quicker that we can get that uploaded into the system, the quicker we can say, okay, this is a completed application. This is going to be ready for an analysis. Okay. How much money can you ask for in the program? We talked about up to $25,000, right? So with that amount and with that maximum loan request, you can request up to that amount. One of the things that we'll be looking at, and $2,500 for the artist community, but one of the things that we'll be looking at and determining, what you qualify for is the need, ultimately. What is the business need, and how can we justify that amount of money at the end of the day? So really, again, going back to the documentation piece, the story, and what I'll look at specifically are financials, tax returns, sharing with us, how the business was impacted year over year. And we all know over the course of the last 2 years, every industry was impacted in one way or another, right? So understanding that story and kind of really identifying and specifying, well, hey, Mark, my revenue dropped this much over the course of 1 year, and being able to see that, or my cost of goods, my materials now that I purchased, my product has skyrocketed. Construction industries, we know materials there. I've seen a 30 to 40% increase in cost of goods in that particular industry. So again, looking at that piece, right, and in requesting a certain amount of money, when you request that amount, really document, the justification behind that. Okay. How do I learn more? So again, through our website, www.prestamosloans.org, we have a specific area there where you can read up on the Santa Cruz County program, and really, and we periodically are going to be updating and making updates in social media platforms and different media outlets as well to get more information. And doing this, having community events like this and outreach and having a point of contact going forward as well. You'll be given that too, so you can reach out to individuals specifically, and ask questions or email through email. Okay. When can you apply, and when is this in effect? Right, as of now. So we're taking applications as of now through the end of August. So once we do that, September 1st is actually going to be the cutoff date for receiving the applications. Okay, and thinking about also from what I do, and we look at the how to say, just the full gamut here, and looking at the county and all the different townships in and around throughout Santa Cruz, it's a short window. It's a very short window when we look at it, and that's why it's imperative, to really be proactive with getting that documentation into us. So looking at if being awarded, right, a forgivable loan, when to expect funding. So after an application is submitted, and we go through this underwriting process from September 1 through the end of September, we're going to be looking at all those applications and doing the approving. Once we pull those applications, we get an approval in place. What we're going to do at that point is, we're going to notify you. We're going to send out a commitment letter to you accepting, the approval process. Once we get that in place, then we're gonna put loan documentation together for you to sign. And part of that is gonna be that 10% commitment back to the community, right? And really determining, and there's gonna be options for that too. And we'll talk more about what are those options, and how can I give that 10% back, right? Because we want every application forgiven, first and foremost. So working with other programs and similar programs, that's our focus into it, is to ensure that we meet you meet all the necessary guidelines to get the loan forgiven. And that's going to be our objective, right? So once that's done, once the loan docs are signed, we're looking probably about 2 to 3 days after that for funding to occur. Okay, and once that funding occurs, then that time window starts for that year that you have to do that forgiveness piece of it. Okay. One of the things that has come up, and one of the things that we also want to share is what if you have more than one business? Mm-hmm. And can you apply for both businesses? And the short answer is yes. And the way we kind of determine that is if you do have two businesses, we have to ensure that they're separate entities. So what I mean by that is, each business, Alex owns a couple businesses, and each business is identified with separate EIN numbers, so tax ID numbers. And each business is registered with a different name with the Arizona Corporation Commission as well. So there is opportunity. So if there is an owner that has multiple businesses, there's an opportunity to also apply for the grant for both businesses. And I think we're at the end of my fact sheet here, but.
Can I make just a comment too about forgiveness? Because, so you might want to ask the question, well, why did they create a forgivable loan? Like, what does that even mean? I mean, we'll talk about the 10%, but one of the ideas here is that the county supervisors would like to know what's the impact of their investment. So if you're getting a forgivable loan, they want to know what happened to that money, right? What kind of investment was made in the community, or what kind of investment could even be made in your own business skills? And I think Alex is going to talk a little bit about that as well. So it's so that they can document what happened as a result. And that's based on some research we've done of other counties that did that versus those that didn't. And people highly recommended run it as a forgivable loan rather than a grant program, so you can really document what happened to the money and what impact it had in the community. So it's not meant to be hard. It's meant to be really, really easy to get it forgiven, and there's lots of ways to do it. Lots of coaching and help and reminders. You'll get over a whole 12 months to do that.
Awesome.
The other piece that it's important to add is that this is not a first come, first serve basis, right? How many of you applied for the PPP loan? I see a few hands, right? And as you know, right, as small business owners, you apply for it and you had to hurry up as soon as the program was out, because that one was first come, first serve. Not in this case, right? In this case is right now we are in the application acceptance process. And as Mark was saying, the deadline will be September 1st. And through the month of September, we're going to be analyzing and looking at all those applications. That also goes to say that if you don't immediately receive a phone call right after you submit your application, just be patient. You will receive a confirmation email, but perhaps not someone on the phone immediately 30 seconds after you submit the application, right? And so just know that right now we're just accepting applications as much as possible. And of course, communicating, what the process looks like, what does it take to get it forgiven. And so I do want to start, are we good to move forward with the forgiveness piece, right? Because when I first heard about it, when as a small business owner, when I first heard about a forgivable loan, right? What do you have to do? Jump through hoops and loops, right? Give your blood sample and your firstborn, right? especially with the federal government, right? And so, but not with this one. We're really trying to make it very simple for you to get it forgiven. As Mark said, it is our intention for all of them to get them forgiven. Therefore, we have been working together with the county, and Angie has been doing an amazing job in working with the school district, right?
Superintendent
The
of
superintendent,
schools.
school district, yeah.
Superintendent,
Also to get you many options to get it forgiven. Now, there's another option that we added, kind of last minute, but it's turning out to work out great, which is the technical assistance piece. So Mark mentioned that there will be a list that you are going to have access to, and we're going to email it to you. As a matter of fact, there's a sign-up sheet going around. So if you have it, please make sure that your email is legible, because I'm the one sending the emails with the links that you need to stay informed, right? And so one of those links is the checklist of the documents that you will need to start gathering, right? Not on September 1st, you need to start gathering right now those documents, in order that as soon as you get your access to the system to start uploading your documents, you're ready to go. Now, some of you may say, well, Alex, I really don't know. Number one, I don't have a profit and loss statement, and I don't know how to prepare one. No worries. Prestamos Certified, which is a division of Chicanos por la Causa, we have a program that is called the SBA Prime Program. Write this down. SBA Prime Program, okay? I am the manager of this program. What do we do through this program? Well, number one, it's a no cost to you. You get access between 5 to 10 hours of complete technical assistance, consulting, coaching, training, specifically to you, just because you're a small business owner in the United States of America, right? What do we do through this program? And you're like, Alex, I really need help with my bookkeeping. I really need help in preparing the financial statements. You'll sign up for this program. I will send you the link for you to sign up. And we're going to assign you a business advisor. I have a pool of 18 business advisors, and I can assign you one. Now, the beauty of this program is that if during the assessment, because you will go a quick assessment, you will undergo a quick assessment. If we discover that there's other needs for your business, such as human resources, marketing, business planning, and strategy, guess what? You can also use those 5 hours to focus on those areas for your business, not only for the loan program, but for your business, right? My specialization is digital marketing, so guess what? If you are looking for a digital marketer, you'll probably get assigned to me, and I have 3 other folks in my team that also do digital marketing. So that's just to give you an example of how the program works. We really want to use this program because if you commit to those 5 hours of getting training and really investing that time, right, in increasing the business skills, your business, right, my business, right, we're investing in our own businesses, then we can actually use all that documentation, because every time I meet with one of you, I have to document what we talked about, what were the outcomes, and what are going to be the action steps on your end in order to grow your business. So we document everything, and then we can submit it to your loan file, and guess what? You can get it forgiven. So really, there's no reason why you shouldn't be applying for this loan. We're trying to make it very simple and easy for you to really get a win-win, get a loan, a forgivable loan, and invest in your business by getting coaching, training, and consulting, okay? Now, there's another piece you can go into details, yeah.
So I can give some examples. So the superintendent of schools has partnered with the county on this one. Kind of interesting, because what they're trying to do is have more investment in our youth and more investment in our schools, and how do we help youth with employment opportunities and new pathways maybe they hadn't thought about in the past, and also for youth to invest in their community. So the superintendent of schools has come up with a list of 30 ways you could get your loan forgiven, and they'll coach you in that too. So, and if you're an artist, they've come up with ways you could get your loan forgiven if you're an artist and you're going after the $2,500 grant. So I have a whole list, and I'm not going to go through all of it, but I'm going to give a couple examples, because it's not just investing. Like, you could buy supplies and bring it through the superintendent of schools office, and they'll document that, but you can invest your time. So they have ways for you to go in, where you could go sponsor a student field trip, for example, and they get a tour of your business. You offer your facilities for clubs or after-school activities, and you get credit for that. You could go speak to a class and get credit for that about what you're doing as a business owner. Or you could offer a project-based internship. So you could have a student work in your office, get skills, the student gets skills, you get some support because they're training student interns. And Alex, we were learning in our conversations yesterday or earlier this week, through the SBA Prime program, he can train the intern. So if you use the SBA Prime program and you sign up for his services, he can train your intern to go do your website, for example, or help you with the business plan. So you get the student trained and your business gets support. So we're trying to make it as easy as possible. And then your coach from Chicanos por la Causa will help you with all those options. They'll guide you through the process. And if you're an artist, there's some options too I wanted to talk about. So if you were to design and complete a public art project, that would be a way you could give back. If you provide a classroom presentation or some kind of hands-on activity and you're an artist, that's a way you can give back. You could provide digital services, through website, video, or marketing materials. So it's like a donation of your time and expertise. And you could plan and execute a public performance. So there's lots of ways you can work with the superintendent of schools. And we want to document all that. We want to see all the benefit that comes from investing in the community or investing in your business. You could do both too. Anything else?
Yeah, no, I kind of want to feed off of Alex and Angie right now in regards to the technical assistance services and the guidelines around the forgiveness piece. And one thing I want to share is what I'm faced with and what I'm challenged with when, and not just this program, but other programs that I've worked through is, and I understand, why, but what happens is once the loan is funded, there's no follow-up on that TA piece of it. There's no follow-up on getting back, like with Alex's team, and setting a time, that 5 to 10 hours needed, for that so we can document. And the biggest challenge is time. As small business owners, literally an hour of your time, means everything, truly. I see that day in and day out. That's the nature of the beast, right? Is finding time in the day, to do what you do. So now here you are tasked with finding, where do I get 5 hours from to sit down with Alex, or 10 hours, right? Well, you have a year to do it. Mm-hmm. So that's, I just kind of want to, preface that way you walk away knowing, it can be done, but, it would need to be planned out. And Alex and his team, they're great. It could be, once a month, 1 hour a month for the next 5 months. That initial 5 hours is done. Mm-hmm. But really kind of thinking about that piece as well, with part of this program. And again, just reiterating the fact that we want these loans forgiven. We want the community to be proactive with giving back, and yeah, anything that we can do to support that process, we're here for that, without a doubt.
Yep. So what does it look like before we jump into Q&A? So if you didn't get one of these flyers, I strongly encourage you to get one. The link that you need to submit your application is at the very bottom. Okay. When you go to the website, it's a 4-step process, and you will undergo, answer some questions. There will be some questions under that application that may not pertain to you. The most common one is collateral, right? There's going to be asking you for guarantee of the loan. I thought this is a forgivable loan. Why is it asking me for a guarantee, right? So what happened is that we literally, it's a very generic application that we use because this is not the only loan program we serve in 5 different states, right? We have SBA loans and whatnot. And so it's the same application for all the programs. The collateral piece, don't worry about it. Answer something and then move forward, right? So that the field it's filled out, right? And you're able to continue to the next step. The other piece is the credit score, right? There is a section that will ask you, hey, what do you think your credit score is like? And I confirmed this with Mark yesterday. So if you feel like my credit score is below 600, I'm getting nervous. I don't know if I will qualify. My understanding is there's no credit pool at the moment. And so again, it's a generic application. Just fill out the field to what you think the credit score is. And don't worry about, well, I'll get my credit pooled, and there's nothing like that. And there will be other questions. Again, if their field doesn't allow you, if the field needs to be filled out in order for you to go to the next step, just fill that out to the best of your ability so that you can submit the application. The goal here is to get you to submit the application so that, as of September 1st, you'll receive an email that will invite you to our system. It's called Spark, and you will be able to start submitting applications, right? And so from the moment that you submit your application until then, start gathering your documents. And once again, I will be emailing you that checklist. If you need technical assistance, I will be emailing you that link as well so that you can sign up and start your technical assistance now. What does that process look like? All right, you click on the link that I'm going to send you for the SBA Prime program. You're going to fill out 30 seconds, just contact information, and then click submit. On the next window, there will be a window that will say, hey, thank you for submitting. Now please schedule a 15-minute phone call with an intake coordinator. It's a big orange button. They're orange like this. You can't miss it. Please do schedule an appointment with an intake coordinator, because if you don't do that, we can actually assign you a business advisor. So just schedule that 15-minute phone call. Their names are either Naira or Josh. They're both bilingual. They will give you a call. You will go through the assessment process, and then after the assessment process, they will assign you a business advisor, and voila, you'll be already connected into the Prime program. It is that easy. And so, and lastly, this is at no cost to you. Anything that we offer as far as technical assistance is at no cost to you. And truly is to help you grow your business. And so more so, the Prime program was designed specifically for rural areas. So, take advantage of it, okay? And I think we can start going into Q&A.
Yeah. I would like to know, is it just for existing businesses or can it be for new business?
Yeah, so we just gotta repeat the question for the sake of the recording. So the question is the loan fund for existing businesses or for new businesses? You wanna go ahead and answer that?
Yeah, no, definitely. So it is for new businesses as well. Existing businesses, certainly, again, when we look at a need, right? And we wanna make sure that we're, identifying those needs. But there are going to be, and an example, one thing that's come up quite a bit lately is, and what I've seen is businesses that were starting, but weren't able to get off the ground during the last couple of years, right? So here's an opportunity now. You're still considered that new business, but okay. And again, it's important to understand that piece and to know exactly what happened. I've already talked to a couple people, that's happened to. So we certainly are going to be looking at new business applications as well.
Can you give me an idea of what sort of documentation you guys are requiring?
Yeah, definitely. So the question was, what sort of documentation are we going to be requiring for this? So first and foremost, you can provide a personal tax return is what we're going to be looking at. We're going to be looking at a business tax return, the most current tax return, which is from 2021, last year. We're going to be looking at a profit and loss statement, a current profit and loss statement, and asking for that as well. Aside from IDs, that's gonna be, and then personal information that we're gonna get, from you.
So as it pertains to a nonprofit, then so obviously the nonprofit's tax return and P&L, and then ID, what do you mean?
So identification for the person that's actually applying. So in a nonprofit setting, it's gonna be the person that has the authority to apply on behalf of the nonprofit.
Right.
So government ID, as in a driver's license or a passport, is what we're gonna be requiring from that person.
Can I add on one
Oh,
thing?
you bet.
Sorry. There's one thing I wanted to add, because you mentioned a profit and loss statement.
Mhm.
So if you don't know how to do that and you need help, that's where you can call the SBA Prime program and say, I need some hours of technical assistance. Help me get ready so I can submit this application. And you'll get credit for it if you're funded, so it counts toward your forgiveness.
Yeah.
Let's get back first.
So the question would be, if we had a business that closed down because of the pandemic, and then started a new business, but that business didn't start until January of this year, so I would have literally no tax documentation before that. Is that something that you then help me out with, if I'm not, because obviously I haven't filed anything yet.
Yeah.
It is a running business that is trying to make money.
Correct, yeah, definitely. So the question was, it was a new business that started, or maybe it was established last year but didn't get started until this year?
Yeah, it was established toward the end of last year, yes.
Right.
And didn't get started until mid-January. of this
Correct, right. No, yeah, so under that new business guideline qualification, right, designation, then we're gonna look to a P&L. So if you started operations in January, then we're gonna look, okay, well, what is your sales and your expenses, right, from then to now, and taking a look at that. And the other things that we're gonna look at is also how you're established as a business. Are you a sole proprietor, or are you an LLC? Things of that nature that we take a look at as well to kind of, document and prove the existence of a business, right? Okay, go back.
If it's a new business, will you help with a business plan, or does it need a business plan?
Well, so the question is, do you need a business plan for a new business, right? So under this program, it's not gonna be required, okay, to have, we are definitely gonna be asking for a summary of the business, certainly, but a full business plan, no, it's not gonna be required, but you will, I always recommend, and my guidance is to create a business plan when you're starting a new business, and that's what Alex's team does. So you're gonna have help with doing that as well. But you had your hand.
Yes, as I listen to you, it does sound like there's a skew toward youth. And we're a 501c3, and our mission statement is focused on seniors and the handicapped.
Yeah. So,
So are you saying my forgiveness is gonna be based on helping the youth in the community?
no. That's an option, right?
Okay.
These are
That's the only option I heard.
exact. No, but again, giving back to the community and how to do that. So in your specific situation, in your specific scenario, how can that provide with the option of school districts? Is there an option there to do? If not, there are the other options. One of them is the TA option. Kind of sitting down with Alex and his team, seeing how we can, enhance the business in any way, or you can take advantage of those particular services, where you can come back and say, okay, we've done this, this, and this to kind of enhance some of the operations that we do right now. And with the multitude of services that he offers, definitely you can take advantage of that, right?
So the
Can I
add
on to
superintendent-
that too?
The superintendent part of it is just one avenue that you can choose to go down.
Right.
To help
There's
with the forgiveness.
there's many
piece.
ways you can get forgiveness, right? So that's one, and they have 30 choices, right? So even if you're not directly working with youth, maybe a youth could help you with your website,
Yeah.
or could help you with I don't know, any needs you
Volunteering.
might have, volunteering. There's different ways that youth could help you. even if you're not a youth-serving organization. We're also looking at maybe developing a couple other options, but we're in process of that. These are the two that we have ready. And by September 1st, it will all be ready. Don't worry about that. We want to give you some options and choices that make it easy for you to get your loan forgiven.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So back there.
Yeah, so as an artist, what happens if I don't have business tax returns or if I don't have any profit?
So the question was, as an artist, what if I don't have a business tax return or profit, right? So again, we're looking at how, we justify, okay? So you don't, so now, and one of the things that we're gonna be looking at, right, and I deal with, and we're gonna be kind of trying to identify, typically, as an artist, an independent artist, and depending what kind of art form, usually what I see is a lot of the artists are sole proprietors. Okay, so they have a business under their own personal name. So how they report income to justify that business is something that we'll be looking at. Typically, it'll be in form of a Schedule C. So we're going to ask that question initially. How do we justify that the business exists, right? Now, as an artist, again, other ways, and one of the different things about this program also is, our ability to kind of be flexible through this approval process, and as flexible as we can to, provide and get that money out into the community.
Even if I don't file taxes for my artist project?
Well, and again, every case and every scenario is going to be different. So it's going to be case by case. So we need, one of the things I'm going to ask you is, well, show me how you're an artist. What is it that exists for you to be an artist, right? So there's going to be something there and a story there that we're going to be able to tap into and kind of define. So that would be, my question to you is, how does that happen? So to create that scenario and that storyline for us, okay?
Yeah.
And,
The other piece too, if you take advantage of the technical assistance piece, is should you receive the loan or the amount requested, do some financial projections, right? And that's something we can help you with. If I receive $2,500, how I'm going to be able to invest that in my business to create other revenue streams. So that's another way to look into projections. A business plan will come in handy in your case, right? Because then now you're creating a storyline of, hey, I've been doing this for this long, but should I receive this loan? This is my plan for the next 6 to 12 months. So again, I think we're trying to get creative, like, okay, let's see what your case is and how we can go about it. Ma'am? Oh, you have another question? Or?
No, good, thank you.
okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, me?
Yes.
Yes,
Oh,
please.
I've already filled out the application, and I got the letter back on the email that said thank you for applying.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how much longer do I have to wait before I get an answer to that to tell me what I need to do next?
Give me 2 days to get back to you not to get back to you with an answer, but to get you that information you need to continue with that process.
Oh, because it's been 10 days since.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I apologize for that. I'm not getting back in a timely manner with that, but make sure that, I'll get your name and your email address, and we'll look you up in the system, and we'll get you that information right away.
Can that be so anybody that's here tonight who is already
Definitely.
filled out this application, we'll let you know, we'll indicate it, and you'll reach out to them in 2 days?
Without a doubt.
Okay.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, how many here have already filled out an application by raising your hand? Okay, we have,
1, 2, 3,
okay.
just 3?
So we have a
Okay.
good amount.
Okay.
Yes.
So do we
Four.
give you a separate piece of paper?
There's a sign-in sheet, so
Well, I did-
your sign?
Yeah, there's a sign-in sheet
Yeah,
going
Okay.
around.
Okay,
We'll just,
so you'll follow that?
Yeah, no, from there, yeah, we'll just get with me, before you leave, and we'll make sure we document,
Okay.
okay, that info, and we'll take care of that.
Question.
Some questions over here. Yeah, right here. All right.
Let's
Okay.
say you get a loan and it's not forgiven. What happens then?
That's a good question.
Yeah, you pay the money back. But that's not, again, it's that simple. And we figure out, okay, well, you're gonna pay the money back, and I believe it's at a 1%, and I'll clarify that for you. But we're gonna, figure out the term. Well, the term on that is a 12-month term on this loan. So what happens is, or for the forgiveness piece of it, but if you don't meet that qualification for forgiveness, then, the money gets paid back. So.
Well, you've already spent the money, so presumably.
Right.
So.
Right.
What happens?
So, I mean, because you're gonna sign loan documentation for this program.
So the loan documentation will have the terms and conditions.
Exactly.
Already in there as far as the
Exactly.
payment and the rate.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But the applicant they will know this ahead of time.
Of course.
Correct? Okay,
No, of course.
So they can make the decision whether or not they wanna continue or not continue.
Of
Correct,
course.
correct.
They'll know right off the bat whether it's forgiven or not forgiven.
Well, no. The forgiveness piece happens during the first 12 months. So in other words, you're gonna sign loan documentation,
Yes.
and that loan won't be in effect until after the 12 months. So in other words, you have 12 months to have it, to get, to follow the guidance around the forgiveness piece and to be accepted for the forgiveness. Once you qualify for that, then there's no more loan. So on our end, on a servicing piece of it, it's recorded and the loan is forgiven.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Which is why I was saying earlier, we'll get to your question, but which is why I was saying earlier, there's really no reason why you shouldn't apply, because we're giving you a lot of options to get it forgiven
Okay.
in a period of 12 months,
Okay.
right? And so it's unlike the PPP that especially if you had employees, you had to provide 940, 941s, P&L, right? It was a bunch of documents that even after, getting the loan, you had to submit. In this case, it's like, hey, let's just document how you are investing 10% of that loan, 10% back into your community. It's easy, right? And so you have 12 months to do that. Before we go to you, we're gonna go with this gentleman over
And
here.
I just want to say one other thing. We'll have a list of all those options when you get that, hey, you got the loan, congratulations. Here's a list of all the ways so that it's clear to you what you're getting into, right? And then they'll give you the documentation on conditions.
Right.
But it'll be really clear, here's all the ways you get it forgiven.
Yeah.
So two-part. The first part is based on the conversation we was just having. I'm assuming that, so you're gonna give a list of criteria. Let's say that I'm a really creative business person in this county and I found a way to give back that's not part of all your bullet points. Could I propose that to the organization to say, hey, I know you gave all these great ideas, but here's how I propose to give at least 10% back to the community that's not on your list, and get that approved as an alternative way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
that's a great
definitely. Well, I mean, the thing about it is, as a business owner, whatever method you're gonna create to give back to the community, that's part of the list.
And that's what I'm trying to say,
Yeah.
is that just to make sure that it appears that, I don't want people to get stuck on the fact that there's rigidity, that you have to follow
Right.
what the superintendent wants you to
Yeah.
do. or
No,
what he
right.
wants to do. It's our choice, as long as we can prove that we're giving that 10% back to the community, that would be the piece that matters.
Yeah, and I just want to follow up on that too, because we've tried to come up, we do have a list of kind of like, what's a good value per hour of your investment, because that's probably your next question, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I could say, oh, it's worth $1,000 an hour for me to give back, right? Well, not really. Let's come up with something reasonable, right? That's kind of benchmark across. If you can justify that and it kind of follows the same guidelines that we've come up with, sure. I mean, just propose it and we'll come up with a way to do that.
Exactly, submitting a proposal for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was just a follow-on with that conversation we was just having, but that was the brainstorm. My true question is there established source selection criteria for the loans? If there is it published? And if there's not, just in general, what makes a stronger application for each category? So I'm a small business owner. What makes my application stand out as far as source selection criteria? And then how about for a nonprofit? How about for an artist? What makes a strong application?
So,
Yeah, repeat
yeah,
the question.
the question was, what makes a strong application? And we kind of talked a little bit, touched about it, we didn't go into detail.
Before that, is there source selection criteria? Do you have written, established source selection criteria on how to qualify for them?
No.
Or is it is completely subjective based on who?
Well, based off, I would, again, go back to the need of the business, right?
Or who decides? I mean, who's
So we're gonna have a team,
okay,
you know, on my end,
okay.
an underwriter, some analysts, myself, we're gonna be looking at all these applications. And we're gonna be assessing, you know, and so,
I guess what I'm looking at is the transparency of the process, of the selection process, because for a lot of these types of programs, you either find out, yeah, you got it, or you didn't.
right,
And then the talks start.
right.
Right. And so who does the source selection and what's the criteria?
Right.
I mean, I'm not trying to look a gift horse in the mouth here, because I think we represent over 100 small artists in our store.
Definitely, definitely.
I,
There-
I can
yeah.
answer a little bit of that,
Yeah.
not in the
Yeah.
detail, not in the detail you want, I'm sure.
understand.
But geographic considerations matter to the
Okay.
supervisors, so they do want to distribute countywide, which is partly why we're here tonight. You know, the whole county is supposed to benefit, number one. Number two, if you look at what the federal regulations say about the Coronavirus Relief Act, it's really looking at recovering from the economic impacts of the pandemic. So businesses that have had significant economic impacts, and you can make your story, as Mark alludes to, about how you've been impacted by the pandemic and why you deserve that money is kind of your story, right?
So you need to prove impact from the coronavirus.
Right. Increased costs or
See what's crazy?
reduced.
See, we're a new business, and we actually grew because the business run so poorly before we purchased it. But I don't know what the future would have held if the pandemic didn't hit. So that's where I'm sort of getting at is
What type of business?
we're a small retail store.
Okay, so I mean, again, going back to, you know, industry as a whole, product is more.
We're a
You-
consignment store for artists.
Okay, you know, so.
So
yeah.
that's, I guess, you see where
Well,
I'm
yeah,
at?
no,
So
definitely,
I don't know
definitely.
The source selection criteria.
Right.
On what makes a strong application.
Right.
Because I could hit it from about 5 different angles.
Right.
And
What?
the application, you know, I only have this much space to put my
Right.
need in. Do I, you know, am I going to focus on it from the profit center of the business? Am I going to focus on it as representing 100 small artists and authors? Am I going to focus on employees? What am I going to focus on if I don't know the source selection criteria
Yeah.
about what makes a strong application? I'm sorry, I'm a contracting officer. I write contracts.
No,
for a living.
yeah, no, definitely.
So looking at this, I'm like, okay, who gets it, who doesn't? You could have somebody that has a brand new business and they have a great need because they want to develop their new business, but how do they prove the criteria? Because they can't prove that they had a loss because of the coronavirus. They can't go back in time to say, oh, because this is what happened to me with the PPP. We didn't qualify because we didn't have P&Ls because our first year was 2020. So you have people in here that have needs, but how do they describe those needs, and how do they know that they're describing them in a way to have a strong application? Is it a one shot where once I submit it's done, or after the application is submitted, if there's questions, will there be discussions to help applicants make a stronger application? And if so, is that across the board for everybody, or just the people that you think need help with their applications? Because that creates an unfairness.
Yeah.
So a lot of questions about the transparency about how this loan is coming out.
Right. No, without a doubt.
You didn't give a chance to answer the question.
I know.
No, yeah, I mean.
And I took half a
it's
page of
good.
notes too.
You gotta, and I would say, you know, I guess, speaking in terms of transparency,
Yeah.
not everybody's gonna get approved,
Understand.
right? And that's what I deal with all day long on all these programs. And people that should have been approved still weren't approved, right? Because we can't approve everybody. So we know there's a certain amount of funds that are available to the community, and we can only be, you know, as best as we can be in being biased, or, you know, not biased, but unbiased through this process, and looking at and kind of identifying that need with each and every business. So, you know, there's a lot to think about during that process, and you know, and I'll be the first to say it's not perfect, because I want to approve everybody. I do, but I only have a certain amount of money to give out, right?
Oh yeah, I didn't mean to be argumentative.
No, not at all, not at all. I'm just, we're passionate about you know, giving that money out. We want to, you know, create this economic resurgence, you know, into this year, and that's what this is all about. You know, so we certainly, it is, you know, we're going to be learning as we go. And to Angie's point, the geographic a part of this process is also going to be very important, because we're going to identify monies here. We're going to identify monies in Tubac, Nogales, Rio Rico. We're going to make sure each and every one of those communities benefit from this program, right? Go ahead. So Noita, exactly up the street, yeah. So
the other thing I want to mention, because it's sort of to your point, it still doesn't answer your question fully. I'll admit it, but
well, no, I know.
but,
I knew there was probably wasn't going to be
But one of the things you mentioned is you did not apply for the PPP loans because you did not have complete financials, right? So when I spoke to the supervisors, one of their goals was, how do we get funding out to businesses that could not apply for the PPP loans? Because a lot of them didn't have enough time in business, right?
Yeah.
They didn't have like the 3 years, right? They didn't have the complete financials. So that's not meant to ding you.
No.
It's meant to be, this is something that PPP could not do.
Right.
And they said that in their meeting.
Yeah.
So
So
you can
we
watch
have,
that meeting online too. It's on the county website. There's a link to it.
Let me, get your question out
You
here
guys have
first.
questions over here?
Okay.
Okay.
The first one is like, how should I justify where I'll spend the money, like if I get the loan, in order to get approved? Like, what should I put to justify?
So the question was, you know, how to justify the use of funds, right, for the loan. So we're going to look at existing expenses, you know, and we're going to look at your type of business, and we're going to make the correlation. So what type of business do you own?
A media company.
So a media company, you know, media equipment for one, you know, you could justify that expense, you know, or other specific, you know, things. I mean, you know, Alex would probably, you know, identify what a media company would need.
That works, like
Yeah.
actual, okay.
Oh, definitely, without a doubt. So that was the first question. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. So if I ask for 25,000 and you only have 10 left, let's say I'm the last one on the list, what happens then? Like,
Well, again, yeah. I mean,
counter offer it.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully it doesn't come to that point where we only have this amount left, and you know. But we're, again, based off of your request, right? We're going to look at, you know, the justification for that, you know, and base the loan on.
It's good to also add to that you may get counter offer. You may be requesting 18,000 and then you only get 12,000, right? And you will get an explanation to that. Before I go into the questions in this section, I just want to add something that is very important. I love your questions, by the way. They were pretty straightforward and super, super transparent. And I want to return the same transparency. We get this question a lot. Hey, is it only for Hispanic demographic? And I want to answer no. Because prestamos, loans, Chicanos por la causa, right? I mean, it's Spanish all around, right? And to answer your question is, we don't have a number to say, hey, we're only gonna approve 50 in Patagonia and 20 in Sonoita. That's not the case, right? This is the case, like Angie was saying, is especially if you didn't take advantage of the idle loan, of the PPP loans. That's what this program is for, right? Number two, there's no bias. There's no demographic bias here, right? This is for everyone. I'm a small business owner as well. I wish my business was in Santa Cruz County, right? In Piedmont County, we get zero, nothing. There's no programs like this. Guess what? My boutique had to shut down twice, and we lost thousands of dollars in that, right? I wish I would have gotten this. So I know where you've been. Just understand that, some of us are small business owners. Most of my business advisors are small business owners. So it's not like we only know it by book theory. We've been there, done that. I've lost employees. I have to let go of employees. I know how it feels, and it sucks, right? So let me go to this question over here.
I just had a question regarding people who are harmed from COVID financially or otherwise. Is there any criteria that supports innovative problem solving in bringing opportunities to the community that aren't yet there, that align with the future and help others? Is that any criteria around that?
Wow, that's
Repeat
a great
the question.
Yeah.
First.
Yeah. So, any criteria around, businesses, I guess, creating economic development within their community?
Mm-hmm.
Is that kind of
Yeah,
in a nutshell?
providing a service that helps others, businesses, in ways that aren't yet there, that open up opportunities and, more aligned with the future and where things are moving, so innovative solutions around economic development.
And so are you asking if this is something that we're gonna be, like, at different initiatives that we're gonna?
No, I
or-
was wondering if that had any emphasis in the criteria for selection.
Okay.
So you balance
Right,
out this
right,
down and
right,
out
okay, I understand.
And here's a great way to stimulate
Right,
things,
right. No, definitely. And me personally, I'll look at, okay, what's this business all about? Right? And what's this business all about? And here's an opportunity, right?
Right.
To, fund a business like this. So there is, again, when we're looking at these, for me, and even as a small business lender, I constantly am looking at opportunities to provide access to capital to businesses or industry that we have not provided for. Just recently I talked with a gentleman out in almost the Safford area region, a farmer. He grows alfalfa. I've never done a farmer. And I'm like, listening to his story, and his story around some of the loss of income because of he can no longer, and the tariffs that were put on through China, right? And that was one of his biggest clients, his regions, the exportation of alfalfa to that region. Boom, got cut off completely. He was trying to find ways to diversify, So listening to this story, I'm like, man, I want to see if we could, help him out, So to your question, yeah, for me, definitely that's going to be, some of the process when we're looking at, the type of business, certainly. So I would say yes.
And that's really around the need too.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, of course.
Yeah. I think we had two more questions in this one over here.
And mine was answered, so we're good.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I work for a local nonprofit that has a hard time getting grant funding for like professional development or training. Can the funds be used for like tuition, covering tuition for job training?
Like the uses of the
Yeah, the uses of funds. Well, the uses of funds are going to fall under the scope of the organization.
Right.
Okay, so if that's the scope of how you use your funds, well then uses of funds, it's gonna be based off of the parameters within your own organization. So you're gonna build the story around the need for your organization and so I mean it definitely would be applicable.
Yeah, that's part of the checklist. If you're planning to use the funds for operational costs, that's operations, right? You need that tuition to operate. So that's a way to plant the justification of the uses of the funds.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you guys defined any loan terms for the portion that if it does need to be paid back? I mean, is there a number of years, or is it immediate total repayment? Is there interest rates? Are there anything else?
There are gonna be an interest rate, and there is gonna be a term after that. I'm not gonna tell you exactly what that is yet, because I don't think it's fully defined. I can get feedback, from our underwriting group and kind of, and pass that out so we can, that's a good question.
Well, is there potential for deferment?
Well,
Because you may create a hardship for the business when they don't meet the 10%. And at that point, collapse the business.
Yeah.
Right.
That all those terms and conditions should be defined by the moment before you sign the loan documents. They will already be defined, and it will be in the loan documents.
But
So
not
obviously,
before we submit the.
not before, because we're still working on all the details of those. Those are great questions, but we're still working on the details of the what ifs, right? What if I don't get it forgiven? And
Well,
so.
it's a risk for your organization and for the individual.
Right.
Who's
Yeah.
signing the paper.
Can I just clarify that before, you apply, they say yes, then at that point is when you get to determine whether you're gonna accept the yes, after you've looked at all of your documentation.
Correct.
Because you're not gonna commit to anything until you've seen all of the documentation. That's
I
lending law.
completely understand.
Right, but that's
an
gonna be-
investment.
Right, but that'll be
Going
the
through the
process.
process.
Yeah.
When you don't even know what the terms are that you're looking at.
Well, at
Yeah,
any given point,
and
you
the
can
application,
say
you're not obligated to anything if you just submit an application, right? It's just an application. If you get approved and you still decide to not use the funds, that's okay with you, right?
If I make an application for a home,
Mhm.
they tell me the terms first before I make an application. I don't make the application and then they say, oh, it's 10%. Did we mention that?
Yeah, the focus has been from the beginning to provide as many options to actually get it forgiven.
Sure.
And so, number one. Number two, if you decide to not get the loan and you already signed up for technical assistance, guess what? We're not gonna be like, oh, well, you didn't get the loan, you don't get technical assistance. We're not gonna do that, right? You still get technical assistance whether you apply or not. So I just want to make that clear as well. But to your point, yeah, you're right. We're still working on the details, so I would want to.
Is 10%?
Oh, no. No, I didn't
Is that
mention
the
10%.
threshold for total forgiveness? So if I did 10%, I did a loan for 10,000, I gave back to the community 1,000, it's forgiven.
Oh, the 10%, yes. The 10% reinvestment in the community, yes, it's 10%.
That's the threshold.
Yes. Yes, I'm sorry, I misheard your question. So the question is it 10% to get it forgiven, to reinvest in the community? Yes, the answer is yes. That's the threshold. Yeah.
I'm gonna text just to see if I can get an answer while we're here.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
You guys, so obviously there's a lot of questions about what's gonna be the best application, right? What information am I gonna put on this to get the loan forgiven? You guys will have individuals to help people fill out the application and walk them through their application to make the best case of an application?
Yeah, so actually, I love that question, because the question is, will we get folks, get help to fill out the application? So yes, that's the short answer. If you don't have access to internet, we can do it over the phone. Just call one of us, or sign up for the Prime program, and my business advisor will help you fill it out over the phone. He will ask the question, he's in front of the computer, he's filling out the application. That's actually one of the main reasons why we created that.
That's why we need.
So, yeah, to answer your question.
I'm like saying no, can't say no.
Yes.
Yeah, I have a question that relates to nonprofits. Some nonprofits work directly in the community, helping older people in the community, etc. Other nonprofits are based in the community, but may be working more broadly, not just in Santa Cruz County. For example, an environmental organization which does things here, but also does things in Mexico.
Okay.
Or a group I work with, we do educational programs in this area, but we also assist and also learn from migrants who are in Nogales, Sonora.
Okay.
Is that considered to be a good story because it's in the community, but it also reaches further?
Yeah, so I'm going to tag your question with his question earlier of like, hey, what if, out of all the options that you're providing, I have this idea. If you propose the idea to us, yeah, by all means, right? The thing is, we want to see the small business owners or nonprofits continuing to reinvest in their community or increase your business skills, right? And so if you're telling me, hey, Alex, we already been doing this, and with this money we plan to do A, B, and C, how about we propose that as our 10%? Yes. We just have to work the details as to what's the equivalent of that 10% so that you get it forgiven. So to answer your question, yes, we can look into creative ways to find a unique way for your organization to get it forgiven based on what you're already doing.
Yeah, but I was also asking about qualifying.
Qualifying, yeah.
Yeah,
So kind of
if-
just,
Yeah,
yeah.
if her nonprofit speaks to and assists somebody that's not in Santa Cruz
Right.
County or something that's not in Santa Cruz County, but they're based in Santa Cruz County, will you still consider them? And is that still a good story if their assistance goes to Mexico or
for
Pima County
qualifying.
or whatever? That's a great question.
Yeah, yes to both.
Yeah, yes to both.
So as long as you're registered within Santa Cruz County, and that's where the business is domiciled,
Right.
you qualify, right, under that.
Yeah.
Then, the scope of your work and what you do as an organization, also, again, for me, I'm looking at it, that sounds pretty appealing. I'd love to help this organization out, right?
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
definitely
Yeah.
would be. There's questions over here. Have we got to?
As far as the impact of the pandemic, is there a time period you're looking at as far as, is it from 2019 to now, or is it just kind of a general?
Yeah, I'll let
Yeah, don't
Andrew.
forget to
I'll repeat the question. So in the time period we're looking at, is there a time period specifically of the pandemic that's considered for funding? No, which is a good thing, because some of the previous programs really narrowed them down and were
Yeah.
very tightly defined.
Yeah.
In this case, the money's more flexible, so we have more options, which is the part of the reason a business could be newer business. It wasn't that way under some of the previous funding sources. So,
Yeah.
to answer your question?
And we dealt, we dealt with that all day long under the PPP program and some other programs up in the Phoenix Valley, Nevada, where it was very specific to the time frame that they had to be in business by, or operational by as well. But again, I mentioned earlier about being a business that opened up during the pandemic, but you couldn't get it off the ground, so you had to close and then reopen back. So that specifically because of that, we didn't place any guidelines around or timeframes around the pandemic. Other questions over there? No.
I think, quick question, so are we gonna be able to attach photos and videos to the story or just text?
Usually I recommend to if you want to do that, the question was, are we going to be attached photos and videos? My recommendation to anyone who wants to do that is to create a small business plan for that, so that you can attach photos, and then that way it's in a nice PDF.
Okay.
And if you want to send some videos, you can always include links to the videos instead of uploading an entire video, right? I don't think our system, holds
Yeah,
that much storage for videos, and so, but yeah, I mean, if that's a way that you want to tell your story, by all means.
Okay,
Yeah.
like a PDF with everything,
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. Even if you have a spreadsheet, a Google Sheet with links to your videos, that actually works too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is a question that kind of piggybacks on what Maggie, my friend, who asked about the scope. If your scope would, if your, our nonprofit goes beyond Patagonia or Santa Cruz County. So it relates to giving back to the community. does extend into Mexico, or does it need to stay within where we're based out of, which is Patagonia or Santa Cruz County?
Angie, you want to take that one up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the question, as I understand it, is if you're reinvesting that 10% in your community, how do you define community? Is it just Santa Cruz County, or can it go beyond this county? I know the supervisors are going to say Santa Cruz County, because we're going to be doing a program evaluation of impacts. That's partly why we're doing this forgiveness. So we'll be able to have a lot of data to show where it is. And so because the supervisors who put the money into this county, I do know they are going to want to see that in terms of how does it benefit this county.
So that 10% piece, they could work with one of the interns that's coming from this program, or a high school student or something, to teach them what they do to help spread the word wherever they want. So we can be creative with that 10%. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Totally.
How involved is the Board of Supervisors in deciding these loans?
I can answer that. So the question is, how involved are the Board of Supervisors in deciding who gets loans?
Yeah.
They are not involved in any way, shape,
But
at all.
they're deciding the criteria.
Well, we talked about what matters to them, and I've told you the things, right?
Yeah.
The non-PPP,
Yeah.
you know, a lot of businesses didn't qualify, or they didn't even know it existed, or we learned at a session the other day that their CPA said it's too hard to get, so don't even try. So that was one of them. So we want people who didn't get PPP loans. I mean, we're not excluding those who did, but I think that's important to the Board of Supervisors, because they told us that in the session. They also said we want geographic dispersion. We want to make sure, and we want to help businesses that were impacted during the pandemic. So theirs are kind of high-level goals. But when it comes to details and all the qualification criteria you think of with the loan program, that's why we have Chicanos por la Causa doing that, because this is what they do. I mean, they've done this nationally.
And they have no dogs in the fight.
Right, exactly. You get an independent reviewer to do that. Right.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay.
I just have a quick question. So obviously, as a small business owner, you can apply for up to $25,000. But do you guys have any guidance around, like, are you better off saying, you know, I could really use $4,000 for this like one specific thing, and it's this, and you know, are you better off sort of like shooting small and trying to secure something like that, or being like, you know, $25,000 get me here, and like,
Right.
here's what that looks like. Do you guys have any sort of guidance around that? Understanding that there are limited funds to go around, and a lot of small businesses that I'm sure could
Yeah.
use a hand.
No, definitely. So, you know, and again, understanding the scale,
Mhm.
you know, of what we're looking at, because they're going to be dealing with so many different, differences in businesses, from sole proprietors up to medium-sized businesses.
Mhm.
You know, and some even considered, you know, that upper tier, you know, potentially, you know, if they can make a case, you know, for it. So again, and we talked a little bit about this yesterday, is it all goes to justifying that need. You know, one of the examples, you know, that I'll use is, you know, we'll look at expense reports. So if you're a small business and you maintain a good P&L, and I see expenses, and you're, hey, Mark, look at, you know, I need, you know, this, you know, to carry me over, working capital, to carry me over for the next 3 months. You know, I'm going to look at your P&L report, and I'm going to identify through that what your expenses are. So it's going to be very easy, and your expenses could be $10,000 a month,
Mhm.
you know, and that's 30 grand, right? So 25,000 is like, well, okay,
Makes
yeah,
sense. Mhm.
you know, that's justifiable.
Yeah.
You know, so in your particular case and your business, and really kind of, so no, don't just say, okay, well, that's gonna give me a better, you know, chance. Just, you know, let me know exactly. And a lot of times I'll say, you know, put down that wish list too.
Mhm.
Create that wish list and prioritize it. You know, because, you know, we're gonna, I already am looking at a lot of applications that have a request for 25,000. You know, so everybody's just probably automatically putting it there. And I can tell you right now, it's like, that's not going to happen. You know, unless we see a scenario where, you know, those expenses are truly, and it's going to be based off of the size of the business. That piece of it, you know, the mathematical equation to that.
So, and this is a very hypothetical question. Do you have an idea of how many loan requests you might receive? Only because $1 million at 25,000 is only 40 applicants. If you know, only 40 people could get $25,000, and then we'll only be out. Now, so it'll vary. So I'm sure there'll be lots of loans that are 500 or 1,000. But in order to disperse it through the communities, it's going to be probably pretty rare for someone to actually qualify for that whole 25,000. You know, that's like the upper 3% of what would be applied for. So do you see 1,000 applications maybe coming in? Do you predict 3,000? Is it just it's not worth trying to predict?
Well, I mean, you know, just again.
The question.
Oh, I'm sorry. So, you know, the question is going to, one is how many applications that we're seeing, you know, in terms of, you know, how we're going to identify, you know, how we, you know, divide that money, right? And just getting an idea of what we're looking at already. You know, we already have over 100 applications in the system. Okay, so that'll just give you an idea from when we started taking to today.
And when did it start?
May 6th.
May 6th.
May 6th. So you have until September 30th.
September 1st.
Sorry, September 1st, okay,
Yeah.
to submit the application.
Yeah.
Okay.
September 1st.
But many grant applications or loan applications say, if you don't get the full amount that you're requesting, what is the most urgent thing that you ask for? What is the most urgent amount of money that you have that'll make an impact on this project?
Yeah, no, I mean.
And so that helps the panel figure out, okay, they want 25, but they could do with 8.
I see what
Right.
you mean. Yeah.
Right.
So that you don't get included at all because you want so much.
Right. No, exactly. And we're certainly mindful of that, without a doubt.
So you could put that in your application, and that might help you make a decision that would include that application where otherwise it might not.
Right.
Yeah.
No, and that's a great point, and that's something, you know, certainly we need to consider, you know, without a doubt. And again, going back to the review process, right, and understanding and looking at, you know, for me, it's like when I see this list, you know, and the need behind that list, you know, the question will be around, you know, and what's your first name, ma'am? Linda. I'll ask you, Linda, what is the priority for the business? So if you're at 25,000, and I know that we're not going to be able to approve the 25,000, share with me what your priority is for the business. Okay, and then that way I can go back and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, they need that. We need to make sure, you know, going back to the other side of the equation, right? What I deal with constantly with businesses is, you know, I'll ask, the business will come to me and ask me for $250,000. You don't qualify. You don't cash flow. That's a term we use, right? Let's look at this wish list you have, and let's identify exactly what you need, so I can see if I can go back and bump heads with my underwriter again and get you something, right? And so this is the same process that we go through.
So you will be asking questions.
Oh
yeah.
Of course.
Once you turn in the application.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Just to clarify that, and those questions will come in the month of September once the application's
Prior. It's gonna be coming during the intake.
Okay.
So you're gonna, you know, we're gonna have because we're gonna be looking at complete applications before September.
Okay.
We wanna ensure we have complete applications prior to, right? No.
Yeah, I want to be respectful of your time, guys, because we're 7:30, and I don't want to. I know you've got to travel back to Tucson. So if anybody has any quick questions, once this is done, will you guys be available for 10 more minutes if anybody had any more directions?
Absolutely.
Sure,
Absolutely.
sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Oh, cool.
Um,
Because I need the names, right,
Yeah,
of the
I'll
applicants
make sure
already.
Anybody who already
Thank
did
you.
the applications and you have not heard from anybody indicated on that sheet. And the last bit, so everybody puts in an
Oh, yeah,
application,
you can sign it.
will hear
Thank you.
something, one way or another,
Before September, yeah. No, well, everybody that puts in an application, we're looking within 3 to 5 business days. They're gonna hear from us, okay?
Thank you.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for having us. Thank you, guys.